Welcome back to the instruction manual for the tool augmentation tool. Today what I want to do is start this conversation around how to evaluate a tool relative to space. So this is going to be the first video. We're going to do a separate video for time and structure, as well as synthesis and learning activities. But today it's space. The tool I'm going to use is one I use a lot in class. Maybe it's a little unfair because I actually know this tool quite well. And that tool is Miro. This is a concept mapping tool. You can find them on Miro.com. If you're an educator, they actually have an educational license for free. But it is a commercial tool, so it has both the pluses and minuses of that. But it is one of the premier collaborative concept mapping tools out there. I encourage you to explore it. The only reason, by the way, just as a side note, that I didn't use the Miro for this particular thing, which I could have done, is because there's no way to publicly share Miro, because it's really designed around a group team approach or a class approach, as opposed to everybody in the public should be able to use a created tool, a template, and distribute it. So Miro team, if you're listening, this is a potential upgrade that I think you should look at. But all right, to the instructions. First of all, the question we have to ask here is, how does the tool alter your teaching space? So there's a lot of different ways in which you could use Miro. And so the idea here is to think through all of the different potential ways in which Miro could impact your outcomes in these different areas. So for instance, in an in-person synchronous environment, you could use Miro in any classroom that has a television or projector as a way of a group activity with the rest of the class. Okay? In which they could also engage with themselves if you give them access to it with their laptops or mobile devices while you're standing in class. So everybody can be writing on the board at the same time, which actually is a really good way of putting that. So you're creating a board that's not limited by space. You can't ever, in a traditional chalkboard or whiteboard, I mean, yes, I've dated myself there. In a traditional whiteboard, there's a limited number of people you can have standing at the board at the same time. Asynchronous, Miro is persistent. So students can go back and review or alter after class. So they could do this as a group. In other words, they can continue the exercise beyond the classroom walls. Miro is a great tool for breaking down those walls. Conversational. I use Miro in live Zoom sessions to create active learning, just like I would in a regular classroom. But it's even more important to create active learning in a remote session. Okay, presentational. Miro can be used to create graphics by the students. It's very easy to create graphics like this if you wanted to, and you could certainly have the students do that. So Miro significantly extends, if you go back and look at the, sort of pull all those things together, it significantly extends the reach of the classroom beyond in both both outside of class in terms of you can hit anywhere, anytime. It's not limited by online versus in person. Creates a persistent product and is highly interactive. As a matter of fact, I'm about to go into a class this morning to use Miro very extensively to help students brainstorm their way into a very specific set of tasks. So, and that's it. I mean, that's how you would do a space analysis of a tool. Obviously, every tool is going to be a little different. But, some tools are harder to do this with. Miro is actually pretty easy because it works on so many different levels. But I strongly encourage you to push yourself to try to figure out ways in which even tools which you might go, well, how do I use a whiteboard? If I were to put in here a whiteboard, for instance, how would that work in terms of, the online spaces, for instance, if I was teaching a hybrid class or a blended class, how could I extend the whiteboard? Well, I mean, one thing that could be done, for instance, just off the top of my head, you can photograph the whiteboard and put it up on into your course shell or whatever you're using to communicate with your students with, and then have them alter that. You can always, everybody's got a camera now, so take advantage of that. So think carefully about what you're doing here and how the tool changes what you're doing.